My side of the bag. I'm Drew Hinesley. He's Scotty Worldwide. Both of us coming to you from our homes today. Scotty, how you doing?
I'm doing great. It is perfect in SoCal. 75, no wind. Was on the golf course earlier today. Going to get back on the golf course on Wednesday. Going to hit some golf shots. I know it's crazy. But yeah, 2 off weeks, which is good. And just feels good to be home after kind of a long stretch there of golf. So I got to prepare for a big one up at Erin Hills. And so I'm leaving a week from Saturday, or this Saturday, I should say.
U.S. Open at Erin Hills. You're in because of your win at El Caballero Country Club with your boss, Ingrid Lindblad. Congratulations on that. We will get to that in a future episode, but this one is a PGA Championship recap. Scotty Scheffler wins at Quail Hollow, his third major championship, with Ted Scott alongside Teddy picking up his fifth major championship. Host of guys, Harris English, Bryson DeChambeau, Davis Riley, and Tyler Pendrith all finish runner-up. What are your thoughts after what you saw over the weekend?
I mean, people asked me my pick going into the week, and I think I just said I think Scotty's going to hit the most shots when he has to down the stretch. And I think you saw it. I mean, you saw it on Saturday and you saw it on Sunday, him really struggle on the front nine. And then he got to hole number 10 and he just hit the right shots at the right time. And I think it was really his finish on Saturday that kind of motivated him into a position, obviously, where he could not necessarily have a perfect 18 holes. And he certainly didn't have a perfect 18 holes. But I think we're getting to the point now, and we talked about it a little last year, where Scotty doesn't have to have his A or his B game to beat everybody else and win major championships, because the way that him and Teddy go along just taking care of business and hitting the right shot at the right time is a just formula for winning major championships. And I think you saw it on full display, and hats off to the both of them. Teddy will never get the credit he deserves, but he should, because I think he did a phenomenal job of really getting his guy to focus and hit the right shot at the right time, even though he didn't have his best stuff.
So I'm friends with Ted. I know Scotty. People have made their comments about Scotty. He's boring. He doesn't have a personality. And I've been close to Scotty in some pretty intense environments. I can tell you he's got that fire inside him. He is a fierce competitor. He just has a different way of processing it, which helps him play his best golf. And it comes across as like a duck on water. But he's got a pretty bright fire burning inside. You don't do the things he does without that. Incredible competitiveness. And I think he pulled back the curtain a little bit Saturday night with the fist pump, screaming at the ball as it went in the hole to cap off the 65, and then slamming the hat on the ground. Very emphatic, very extroverted, kind of showing some passion. And I have not heard this from anyone else that I speak to privately. I want to exclude Ted and Scotty. I haven't heard anything from them about this, but I feel like they were really trending last year, and they were like, okay, we're gonna give this Grand Slam a shot, and obviously that got derailed. So we go 52 weeks into the future, they win, and it was a little bit of just a release of some of the angst that I think both of them felt of opportunity that slipped away last year, because he obviously played great in the first round, and then of course many may remember, post arrest, he actually shot one better. 4 under first day, went 5 under second day, but then everything kind of caught up to him on Saturday, and just a perfect storm.
Teddy wasn't there on Saturday, which I think matters.
Perfect storm of things, just a confluence of things, and just the stress of everything, I think, finally caught up. Didn't win the PGA, wins it this year, slams his hat, kind of puts a cap on that whole situation. And if you follow J. Ted Scott on Instagram, Teddy does a Sunday sermon every Sunday morning. And yesterday's sermon was actually a little bit about how Scotty handled the arrest last year at the PGA. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out, because Ted does give a few details of just Scotty's stoicism and how he handled it, didn't name drop, didn't big league them, didn't threaten litigation. All those things honestly would have been pretty appropriate given the way that situation was handled. And so again, yesterday was kind of it's been a long year, and we really wanted to do this last year. We got derailed. Now we're back. I'm not going to say they're going to win the next two majors because Oakmont's going to be maybe one of the hardest golf tournaments these guys have ever played, based on some of the things I'm seeing and hearing. And Portrush, I think that's just about a weather draw. Who
Sure.
gets in contention, and you never know what's going to happen there with the weather in Northern Ireland. But for this week, man, that was fun to watch. A 6-shot lead walking up 18, but even as recent to that as an hour prior, we didn't really know how this thing was going to shake out. But it just goes to show you that, in a golf tournament, and I think it's informative for the two of us to kind of just, hey, let's just hit the best shot we can here. Let's make the best decision we can here. And when we get to the finish line, we'll see where we stack up. I think a lot of times in tournaments, Scotty and Ted are walking to the 10th tee tied with John Rahm. And instead of panicking, instead of changing a game plan, Teddy maybe made one of the greatest caddy moves of all time, walking off 9. And Scotty talked about it in his post round yesterday, how he looked at Teddy after pulling it a little left on 9 into a pretty bad spot. He would make a bogey from there. He tells Ted, that felt really good. And Ted said, well, maybe you're aiming over there. Maybe aim a little further right. He didn't miss another fairway the rest of the day. So very underrated how very experienced caddies can boil something down to its very simplest form, give very quick, concise, simple advice, and it has maximum impact. That,
This
as a caddy, is something to learn from.
this might sound crazy, but like when we talk about these major feature groups, a lot of times I like to watch and pay attention to the caddies just as much
Of
as the
course.
players, right? And it was really cool because we got the first 2 days, we got Scotty, we got Xander, and we got Rory. And I watched Harry and Austin as much as I watched the players, right? Because no one was playing particularly great golf that
By
day.
my count, there's 7 major championships that those caddies can take credit for.
Yeah, so I really, and I watched on ESPN Plus, and I watched almost every shot of the entire group on Thursday and Friday, and I just watched the caddies. And I personally will tell you, I take a great deal out of just watching them and trying to pick up on little things they say. And it's nothing major, but just store it away, because if I'm in that situation and have those tools under the gun, well, then it's only going to help me. And I know some caddies watch this and listen to this. Man, if you got a Thursday or Friday and you don't have, watch one of those feature groups and just pick up on some of those conversations and just the little tidbits they say, and you can pick up and add to your toolbox. To your point about the kind of the reprieve from what happened last year at Valhalla, Scotty was asked about that in his press conference. He could tell he had some things to say, but he didn't want to make the jokes out loud in public. But I think privately in his circle, they might have said some things, but they're going to keep that there because that's just class and that's how they roll. And so I appreciated that answer. And I think to your point, they kind of raising that trophy just helped them move on from that, and just pure redemption of unfortunately what happened.
Well, and full disclosure here, I talk a lot with Ted. We text a lot. We speak on the phone every so often. And I've never asked him about that situation because I feel like if he ever wants to tell me about that, he'll tell me.
Sure.
And he's never told me anything. I would not make anything public if he were to say something about that situation to me. But that said, it does speak. And I've had meals with Ted in the year since that happened, and it's never come up. So they are very tight about that within their team, and you got to respect that because that was a big deal. That was a huge deal. And for that not to kind of just be in your thought process and maybe just come up in casual conversation every so often. And again, maybe I'm not close enough to Ted for him to share stuff like that with me, and that's okay. But it's never come up in our conversations, and we do speak rather regularly. And if he had told me anything, of course, I wouldn't say anything about it. But It just goes to show the character of those men, how instead of blaming something, they have just really stuck their nose to the grindstone and they just picked up another major. And now Scotty, the year of the Grand Slam with all of Rory's talk, now Scotty's halfway there. And he joins guys like John Rahm and Brooks Koepka, who are there. Of course, Jordan Spieth has 3 legs. He'll have to
Yep.
wait another 51 weeks. I don't think we'll have any Grand Slam talk at this year's U.S. Open. If my count is correct, I think somebody can maybe get closer. Scotty can obviously get 3 legs of it if he wins the U.S. Open. But as to this PGA Championship and Quail Hollow, what it delivered, it is a very dramatic golf course. I think the swing they showed prior to the leaders going in to 14 through on Sunday, it was, I think, minus 200 on 14, 15 under par, plus 300, 16 through 18. That's a 500 shot swing for the field
Yeah.
between 14, 15, and then 16 through 18. And it did kind of play to that at the end with Rahm making double, couple guys, making bogeys on 16. Matt Fitzpatrick, kind of a sloppy 3-putt on 16, took him out of it. But I don't, as a fan, as somebody who follows the sport very closely, I don't like regular PGA Tour venues being major championship hosts. And probably hot take, I don't like Riviera being the Olympic host in 2028. They have an annual event. We get to see it every year. There's plenty of courses, as you know, in Los Angeles that can host the Olympics. Whether they would want to or whether they have the built-in infrastructure, we don't know. But it's just my hot take. I don't think Torrey Pines should host U.S. Opens. I don't think Muirfield Village should have hosted a President's Cup, and so on and so forth. So I'm not a huge fan of these courses that already have a stop on the tour, kind of stepping out for a year and hosting a major. I don't like that.
Do you okay? Do you feel because they have to make it so dramatically different in order to make it a event, or
No, and like in the case of Pebble Beach and Torrey Pines, it's a different time of the year. And as we know, the courses just played drastically differently from
yeah,
February and January into
yeah,
June. It
yeah?
just, the grasses, the climate, everything's different.
Well, to that
Quail
point,
Hollow, it would have been a week different in the schedule. I mean, that's why we were at Philly Cricket Club 2 weeks ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
I think the right venue can get it right. I'm just
it,
not so sure that Valhalla or Quail Hollow or is a great venue to that matter.
yeah, and again, next year the PGA Championship at Aronimink
Yep.
in Pennsylvania. Again, I think the PGA Tour, and I think the year after they're going to Frisco.
Yeah.
And I think the
Yeah.
PGA Tour, or the PGA of America, I should say, should just do a little bit better job of picking their venues in that Sun Belt. We are having this tournament in the second week of May, and we've seen from Oak Hill and other places, it's just tough. Even Louisville last year had horrible weather to start. The morning that Scotty got arrested, there was an accident due to the weather,
Yeah. Yeah.
and somebody died
Yeah.
because of bad weather. So maybe we just do a better job, PGA of America, of running along that southern Sun Belt. And again, why not maybe get a couple of Florida courses, maybe like this one? Wouldn't that be cool to see a PGA Championship at Seminole? How awesome would that be? And it's not even in the conversation, and I don't know why. Like, why can't
Probably,
we go to
probably
Arizona, New
because
Mexico, Texas for the PGA, which we're going in 2 years?
how
But
about
going to go,
California?
but going to places like, yeah, California, going to places like Charlotte and New York upstate and going to Aronimink and Philly. Again, we saw the Truist Championship outside of Philadelphia. Horrible weather this time of year. Either
Yeah,
move the championship back to August or find venues where it's more pleasing to the spectators and the players to play in May.
I'm with
Because
you.
it's not a lot of fun for fans getting barreled into those cart paths. You can't walk on hills because
Yeah, and
again, all the sub air is done on the playing surfaces, not where the fans are. So the
right,
fans get bottlenecked into car pass. That's not a lot of fun.
right.
We've got to start thinking a little bit bigger picture when we choose these venues. That's a really hilly venue. I've caddied at Quail Hollow. It's not a flat golf course. When it rains, there's nowhere for the fans to go.
Yeah, and two, for that matter, they're dangerous weather. So, like day one,
Yeah,
Monday, you weren't even able to be at the golf course, right?
right.
So if you buy, I mean, yeah, they let them come on Tuesday, but not many people can just alter their plans and say, "Hey, we bought tickets, so now we're going to go on Tuesday." Like most people can't get off work and do stuff like that. So
Right. I mean, again, Doral, I know with Trump's affiliation is persona non grata when it comes to PGA venues, but gosh, Doral would be a great PGA Championship venue. I believe we had a PGA Championship at PGA National in West Palm Beach once upon a time. So these things have happened in the past. So I think we need to revisit this. That's my hot take. If you have a course that has a normal rotation on the PGA Tour schedule, you're not eligible for big time events, team events, majors, stuff
I
like that.
mean, I just to me, I hear you, but there is
You're
not
not going to agree with me because you don't want to go against Riviera hosting the Olympics.
Rivera
You
or Pebble
can't
or Pebble. I mean,
philosophically say that.
A U.S. Open at Pebble is unreal.
And see, like we have a women's U.S. Open next year at Riviera. I love that.
Yeah, because it's
But I
not
don't
on
think the men
it's not on
need
the
to be
normal schedule.
revisiting the same sites, right?
Agreed. Agreed. I agree with you there. I think Pebble is the one place where you can hold a major and a regular event during that year. I would
And
argue.
the same with Torrey Pines. If Torrey Pines wants to host the U.S. Open, host the women. The men play there every January in the Andy Williams. Now we call it Farmers Insurance or whatever the sponsor is. I can't even remember.
That is a sponsor, yes.
And we played it twice this year because of the wildfires in LA. So again, Torrey gets it shot with the men. If they want to host a U.S. Open, let it be the women.
I
So
agree.
those are just my hot takes on a
I don't think
place like
I don't
Quail Hollow. And
I don't
again, I personally think the PGA of America. I know they're not listening to me, but I would love it if somebody in their headquarters would listen. When you have Ryder Cups at Whistling Straits, there's no infrastructure. Scotty Scheffler's dad told me at the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits that he was staying in Milwaukee and bussing up every day. That's ridiculous. Do better, PGA. Now we're going to Bethpage, which is going to be an awesome environment. But the infrastructure for that type of event for hotels, for hospitality, it's just you're in the middle of a bunch of neighborhoods there in Farmingdale, New York. It's Long Island. It's not real. There's a couple of spots. I know I've stayed at a Marriott there right next to where the Islanders Stadium is, not too far from the course. I'm sure that place is sold out because it's one of the only high-end hotels that's going to be a stone's throw from the golf course. So things like that just drive me nuts. You know, Chicago, LA, Philadelphia, these big city centers. Let's have the big events there.
100%.
So PGA of America, let's go to Dallas,
Yeah.
Phoenix, Miami, LA. Let's do that for the PGA for the next few decisions. I know they're not listening, but if they are, let's see if they heard us.
No, I agree. As someone that travels to crazy spots for golf tournaments, it would be so nice to have logistically easier places to get to. And I'll just
Well,
leave it.
and the people making these decisions, these executive committees, they have all the suites booked for them right there on property. So
Right.
they don't ever have to deal with some of the things that we deal with as participants. And then the fans, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Seeing some of the bus lines they got to go through, especially in bad weather. Look at the Solheim Cup in DC. Let's just make it a little easier. Okay.
I'm with you.
Bryson DeChambeau, second place at the PGA,
Yep.
was in the hunt with Rory at the Masters, won the U.S. Open against Rory, was in the hunt against Xander at Valhalla. Bryson has really started to figure out how to peak 4 times a year.
Yeah, no doubt. And to that point, has moved up on third on the Ryder Cup standings. So pretty much, I would say a lock to be on that team in September.
Yeah. Which would be very interesting to see for me. Just a quick sidebar: how the New York fans react to a guy who's supposed to be a man of the people, but he's gone and taken the Saudi Arabian money to enrich himself.
Yeah,
That will be an interesting. I'll be interested to see how many people voice something negative and get removed from the event. And I'm sure I'll have a bird's eye view.
but to that point, if this was 3 years ago, I really would think it's going to be problematic. I don't think anyone from Live has changed their image more than what Bryson DeChambeau has done.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many fans and people that I talk to root for Bryson now. And I think you even saw it on Saturday where he was making his run and, giving the crowd exactly what they wanted and firing them up. If he does that and he can beat Europe, those U.S. fans will support him. That's 1 week where
Okay.
I think you don't care about where he makes money. These guys are all multimillionaires, whatever. I think that's one where if he can beat Europe and if he helps USA team win, I think the New York crowd will be behind him in full density.
Okay, back to the PGA Championship and his performance in majors. He is getting in the hunt. Falling short, is that a problem or is that promise?
I think it's promise. To use his words, he's got to figure out some equipment stuff, and I don't know exactly what that means. I'll defer to someone that knows him better than I and you. So whatever that means, I feel like he and his team will figure it out.
So I can tell you right now that the next 2 weeks are going to be pretty chaotic around him because if he is looking for equipment fixes, he's going to go down some rabbit holes. He knows he's got 14 days to really take it as deep as he wants, 3D print, whatever
Yeah,
crazy stuff he thinks can conform to USGA specs. And then he's going to give himself a solid week of testing, hitting, seeing where the misses are, getting all the data analytics dialed in, and then he goes to Oakmont and he tries to put it into play. Or maybe he just goes back to some old trustees. Again, he played really well there in 2016, and this was about 2 weeks after we split up.
okay.
I was really excited for the first time. I was really excited, and I was 2 weeks away from caddying for him at Oakmont, and I just knew, gosh, if we could just keep it in the fairway, hit the greens are so segmented there. I know Oakmont really well, and I was like, man, this guy, his ball striking can carry him to a victory, and he got in the hunt there, and this was his first major as a professional.
Okay.
And he got in the hunt. I remember he was paired with Jordan Spieth, the defending champ, and the Open champ, Zach Johnson. And I think he beat both of them in 2 days and really performed well. I remember he was paired with Jason Day on Sunday and beat Jason Day on Sunday at the U.S. Open. So he's played well at Oakmont before, so I know that he expects to play well there again. That's how his brain works. I did it once. I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
Now let's just get the equipment that allows me to do it. And the thing about Oakmont that many people may not know is it's historically one of the shorter U.S. Open layouts.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily have to hit your driver everywhere. And Bryson has a couple of different driver swings where he can try to keep it in play. And then we all know he can hit a pitching wedge 210 yards. So that is going to be a massive advantage for him at Oakmont. The rough is up. The rough was up at Winged Foot. He won. It was diabolical around the greens last year at Pinehurst. He won. Rough's going to be up, and it's diabolical around the greens at Oakmont. So if any bookmaker doesn't make him the favorite, then I wonder where their bias is, maybe with Scotty or Rory, because I see Bryson as a heavy, heavy favorite going to Oakmont, knowing what he's done in the last 5 or 6 majors.
Okay. I like it.
I think his performance is very promising.
Yeah.
I think he's honestly, sometimes the emotion gets the best of him, and
Yeah.
that's always the case with him. You know, he's kind of rides high and dips, and sometimes just Ali makes I think he made a bogey on 16, and the ball just didn't perform in the air like he wanted to on 17 on Saturday. He makes double. Again, Bryson doesn't have any kind of layup mentality in him. And we actually had this discussion early on. I had him kind of hit a conservative shot on the 11th hole at Bay Hill, and his coach said, don't ever do that again when he's grooving, because he was like 5 under through 10. And I was like, okay, let's not make a mistake on 11. Then we get to the par 5 12th, and let's just keep going. His coach was like, when he is grooving, you keep that pedal to the floor. And so, again, that's kind of how he plays. And that, again, sometimes can rear its head and sting him like it did, I think, on 17. Just still had the pedal to the floor instead of thinking, hey, let's play right edge of the green. Let's chip it over to the hole. There was none of that. It was go for the flag, hit a poor shot, made doubles. So he's come real close. And some of the misses in Amen Corner on 11 this year at the Masters, pretty uncharacteristic of him to pull one that far.
Yeah.
So again, he's been
putter let him down at Augusta.
Well, putter let him down yesterday too. I felt like, and again, you'd have to be in his team to know this, but I just felt like for whatever reason, he was not getting the proper read on the greens. And I know he likes to use a lot of charts, a lot of science. And I just wonder if one of his variables was a half a degree off, because there were some putts that he had going right and they went left.
Mm-hmm.
And there were putts that he,
Yeah.
really a little bit better speed and he makes them and he didn't even come close. So it was one of those, it was a strange day watching him putt on that back nine, because he's been really good at putting really hard greens lately. And he was really bad yesterday. I think that's fair in saying, because
Yeah.
he just hit some very, very poor putts in some spots where I did not expect him to do so. So I think if he gets that figured out, and the Oakmont greens, again, he's played well on them before. So I expect all of that to be happy sauce for him as he goes to Southwest PA.
Amen. That's good insight there from someone that knows Bryson really well. So hopefully the bettors and people that listen to the show, know to not pick Scotty or Rory, and you want to put some money on a guy. Some science behind Bryson there.
Harris English, Davis Riley, Tyler Pendrith, all runner-up finishes. With Scotty's victory, will any of those be remembered other than Bryson's?
No.
I mean, runner-up in a major is a pretty big deal. All those guys are invited to the Masters next year because of that performance.
I don't think we'll remember.
So next year, when you see Tyler Pendrith on the tee sheet at Augusta, you're like, how did he get here? Oh yeah, he finished runner-up at Quail.
Yeah, I don't think we will remember.
I mean, Harris English was done before any of the leaders teed off, and just
I'm with you. And
the
listen,
attrition.
And for what that does for Ryder Cup standings for him, and puts him in a
Huge.
spot. Yeah, it's
Huge.
good. It's great, and it's good for him. But if you're asking me if the casual fan or people remember who finished runner up when Scotty won by 5 shots? No, they're not going to remember. No.
Okay. Just thought it was worth mentioning, and we can also go into the top 10. Johnny Vegas, who had a great start, and seven under to start, I believe. Yeah, I called 8 under, and I needed him to make a birdie somewhere late, and it didn't happen. So I wasn't as prophetic round one as I thought I would be. But he shoots 7 under round one, 2 over the next 3 rounds. 5 under, good enough for a T5. Again, great, makes money, points, but not what he was looking for out of the weekend. JT Poston, who was actually solo second late on the back nine, and then had a little bit of a stumble coming home. Joaquin Niemann, first ever top 10 in a major. That is shocking to me because I know how talented he is.
Shocking because of what he's been able to do on LIV. Yes.
Well, and again, he played as the Latin American amateur champion at the Masters as a teenager and was getting ready to go to college. And I think a little inside baseball, I was once told that he wasn't going to pass entrance exams to get into college. So he said, I'll just go play golf. And so that's why he turned pro so early. So he's been playing these big events for a while.
Hey, it worked out. And I'm with you. I think he is one of the most talented people in the game right now. No doubt.
I agree. But so again, you almost feel like, gosh, he's in his late 20s now. He's not. But you get that feeling, and you're like, man, this guy, it's his first top 10. And again, very talented guy. Ben Griffin, top 10. Denny McCarthy, top 10. Ryan Gerard, who played his college golf at North Carolina, who has Steve Hale, Pepsi, Keegan Bradley's PGA Championship caddy on the bag now, for those that are keeping an eye on caddies. How about Joe Highsmith and Joe LaCava Jr. with a top 10 in a major?
Come on.
Matt Fitzpatrick, Captain Keegan Bradley, T8. Yes. And then John Rahm and Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim, maybe the funniest kid on tour with that hole-in-one on Saturday, just absolutely throws his club and runs down a tee box. All those guys, top 10, again, might be forgotten in Scotty's 5-shot victory. But any thoughts on those guys?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I also want to give a shout out to a friend of the show. I know we texted separately and you texted him, but Kyle Morrison and Alex Noren, his first tournament back. What a great showing. Was up there all day and, had a tough day.
T17 finish, thanks to 4 bogeys on the back, including one on 18, which was tough to see.
But again, great to see him coming back to form, and great for Kyle, who's kind of, been waiting for his horse to come back all year, and who we had on the show, and someone that, we root for. But I think all the hosts of those guys, it does something for all of them. Good to see Fitzpatrick playing really good golf. I think he'll be part of that team up in on the Ryder Cup, and all those guys I think have something that they got out of it. But again, where we'll remember any of it? No.
Back to Kyle and Alex. Alex barely missed Tour Championship last year.
No.
And then I think they went and played Dunhill Links soon after in Scotland on DP World Tour. And then Alex was getting ready to, I think, come back at the Sony. I think Kyle was in Honolulu, got the news that Alex was going to be on the shelf for a bit. So, yeah, last week, first week back, second week back, you're in the final group of a major championship. Didn't quite go the way you wanted, but man, hats off to our man Kyle Morrison. And I'm looking at the stats now. 3 for 6 out of the sand yesterday for Alex. So Kyle probably icing his hands, got some blisters from all those bunker rakes on a Sunday afternoon at Quail Hollow. Sorry, Kyle.
Hey, listen, he's
Low hanging fruit.
Tomorrow. He's spending some of that money when that direct deposit hit. So
there you go. All right, Scotty Scheffler, your PGA champion. Final thoughts from you on what you saw this weekend.
Just again, hats off to the grind of a Scotty Scheffler win. This was tailor-made. Scotty Scheffler not having his best stuff, didn't have the crazy 62 round, but just hit better shots than everyone down the stretch, and that's why he's the champion.
Yeah, 65 on Saturday, that back nine, the shot on 14, the birdies to close 17 and 18, that did, in fact, provide him the margin that he ended up needing in the end. And congrats to my man Ted Scott, 5th major championship, 3rd with his current boss, Scotty. Steve Williams, Tiger Woods, 13 majors combined. That's the kind of the modern record, if you will. If anybody's beaten that, I'm not aware of it. So 10 behind those guys. The countdown has begun.
We'll see.
All right. Thanks for following us. You can catch us on Spotify, YouTube. Everybody's tuning in from the Back Nine Brief. We appreciate it. And please give us a follow, give us a like, subscribe, and we will keep giving you the world of golf from my side of the back.